Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. Working on the Ford 4000 today, and this little critter right here just gave me fits. If you know what that is, it's basically a little pop-off valve. There's a little tiny, very weak spring under there with a little tiny metal thing that closes off a hole. The hole's about 1/8 inch in diameter, or about 3 millimeters for my millimeter friends out there. It's just a pain. And you think, well, where does that go and what does it pop off of? Well, it pops off on the power steering line. This is screwed into the base of the steering column. I have seen no videos out there about this problem, and so I actually saw one video where the guy had the fluid coming up through his steering column on a Ford tractor, very similar to this but a much newer model, and I assume it's this thing here causing his problem. He just couldn't see this because it was enclosed. Mine's not enclosed, so mine was just leaking out on the ground. I have repaired and replaced every part of the power steering on this thing that you can imagine. Any line that was leaking has been replaced. I put a new pump on it. I rebuilt the pump originally first. I had leaks everywhere, so I fixed all of the leaks. Well then, wouldn't you know, it starts leaking through this darn thing. So my only assumption is that I got it pressurized enough where, you know, this is the only place it can leak, whatever. I don't know why. But anyway, in the case of that other fellow where his leaked up through the steering column, he just ran a line back over to his return line. He just tapped it and put it into his return line. And he said that fixed his problem. He hasn't had any more problems since. So I figure I would just go straight out of this, do the same thing, tap into my return line and do it. And I did, and it seems to have fixed my problem. I have no more leaks on this thing, probably for the first time in 50 years. My dad bought this tractor almost new in 1965. It's a model year 64, and it had a few hours on it when he bought it, I think, but it was virtually a new tractor. And my dad and myself and my brothers have run this tractor so much over the years. When my dad passed away, I inherited the tractor from the estate. The motor was froze up. It was sitting outside for years. It was just a mess. I completely rebuilt the tractor from one end to the other pretty much, including the rear hydraulics, pretty much everything. Brakes, you name it, I've done it. But the one thing that I couldn't get stopped leaking was the darn power steering, but I think I finally fixed it now that I've gotten rid of this goofy pop-off valve. And I'm going to give you a close-up of what I did just because it might help somebody else. Okay, the pop-off valve went right back here. This valve here went right there where you can see the end of that brass right back here. And it just stuck down in there like so. And so I just put a 90 on that and then adapted it over to this hose. Here's the return line here, and you can see how I just teed it into the line right here. And it's not pretty, but it works. It seems to have fixed all my leaking problems now. And when you run this line over to your return bowl for the power steering, and I'll show you where that is, and that return bowl is right here, and the line just ends up right here. And so any fluid that comes out of this pop-off valve now just goes right back to the return line into the bowl. You know, it just is wonderful to have this thing finally fixed. So my friends, I hope that little tip will help you. If you're having a problem with your power steering leaking out of one of these little pop-off valves, just tee it back into your return line, and I don't think you'll have any further trouble. You know, I don't know, I haven't run it very long this way to know that I won't have any trouble, but the other fellow said he'd been running his that way for quite a long time and didn't have any issues. So I would assume it's going to be fine. Thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of that.